Hello everybody, and welcome to this Cambridge Advanced English Speaking Paper video course. In this lesson we're going to be focusing on the CAE Speaking Paper Part 3. So let's get started. So Part 3 is a collaborative task with you and one other candidate, where you are given a task, an idea, and a few connecting points to talk about. So in this lesson we're going to be focusing on the best tips, technique, strategy and practice for Part 3 of the Cambridge Advanced English Speaking Paper. So Part 3 is called a collaborative task. And how long is it? It's about 2 or 3 minutes long, and because you're doing it with one other candidate and you're both talking, you'll probably have about 1 minute of talking time each. Do you do it individually? No. You do it with one other candidate, or sometimes maybe even 2 other candidates. There might be 3 of you, and in that case you'll still probably have about 1 minute talking time each, because it will last a little bit longer. But normally it's just 2 of you. How many topics do you need to talk about? Just 1. But you are given some discussion points surrounding this topic. And how many of these discussion points do you have? 5. So you have 1 main topic and a few ideas surrounding it to talk about. So I say, in this part of the exam, the examiners are looking for your range of vocabulary, which means the variety and the amount of language that you can use, as well as your interaction ability with the other candidate, how well you speak with another person, how well you can have a conversation with another person about a specific topic in English. So, here is a typical question or topic in the middle, and then we have the 5 prompts to talk about surrounding it. Now this example, which we can see here, has come from the Cambridge English Advanced Handbook for Teachers, and specifically it's come from page 78. And you can access this document here at this website. If you type this into your web browser, you will find the Cambridge English Advanced Handbook for Teachers. And on page 78, the page numbers are at the bottom of the pages. And if you look at the bottom of the page and you find page 78, you will see this example here. And then, at the bottom here, this has also come from the Cambridge English Advanced Handbook for Teachers, and they say, it is better to deal with several of these points in depth than to try to deal with all of them superficially. There is no requirement to talk about all 5 prompts. So you don't need to talk about all 5 of them. You need to go into detail on 1 or 2 or 3 of these ideas. That is a better approach. So don't worry about speaking about all of the prompts, but go into detail on a couple of these prompts, while at the same time answering the main topic question. Okay, so here's my first tip. 2 minutes is not a very long time. So the way you need to do this in the best practical way is to firstly state your opinion. Say what you think. And then justify your opinion. Say why you think it. And then ask the other candidate what they think. So say your opinion, say why you think that, and then ask the other candidate what they think. Do they agree with you or not? And if you do this for each of the prompts, or for some prompts, that is a really good way to get a discussion going. And if we look at the bottom here, we can see it says, the focus is on sustaining an interaction, which means keeping a conversation flowing, keeping a conversation going, exchanging ideas with your partner, with the other candidate, expressing an opinion, so stating an opinion, justifying an opinion, just saying why, agreeing or disagreeing, because maybe you don't agree with what your partner says. You can ask for their opinion, they can tell you their opinion, but it may be different to yours, and that's absolutely fine, you can disagree. But you should also suggest, speculate, evaluate about these points, and finally you will need to reach a decision through negotiation, or try to come to a decision through negotiation. But it's the negotiating part which is more important if you don't manage to come to a successful decision, as long as you show that you can negotiate with the other candidate. That's the most important thing. Okay, so let's practice writing down some opinion phrases, some why phrases, and some asking phrases. So opinions, justification, and question phrases. What I want you to do is to pause this video for 2 minutes to write down some ideas for opinions. For example, you could say I think, or in my opinion, or I believe that. And then do the same thing for why. So what can you say to justify your opinion? Because, for example. And then to write down some phrases to ask your partner. What do you think? Do you agree? Etc. So pause this video now, and then we'll have a look at the few more that I've written down here. Press play when you're ready. Okay, so hopefully you've written down some more phrases for opinions. The ones I've written down here, as we can see, are I think, in my opinion, I believe that. Now, to justify my opinion, or to justify your opinion, you can say because. I think that because. Or I've seen this happen before. So in my opinion, children are addicted to their telephones and they play games all the time. I've seen this happen before. With my little cousin, for example, she is on her phone all the time playing this one game, etc. And another word that you can use to justify your opinion is as. So I believe that television is bad as it makes you sit down all day and etc. Then what you need to do after you've said your opinion and you've given your justification is to ask the other candidate, to ask your partner what they think. And what I've written down for some good ways to ask your partner are, do you agree? So I think that television is bad because it makes people sit down all day. Do you agree? Okay. If I could make it a bit longer, that's even better. I think that television is bad because people sit down all day. It stops people from doing exercise and it makes people become lazy. What do you think? Well, I believe that television is bad as it makes people sit down all day and they forget how to do basic things in life. They lose their touch with nature. It stops social interaction between people. And I really don't think this is a good thing. What's your opinion? So there are some good opinion, justification, and question phrases that you can use in the exam, but you should also think of your own and write these down and practice them before taking the exam. So here is a topic from the Cambridge English Advanced Handbook for Teachers from page 78. And you can access this and see this example at this website here. And the question is, what might people have to consider when making these decisions? What do people have to consider when making these decisions? Finding a job, getting married, moving to another country, starting a family, choosing a university. Those are the 5 prompts for this one key question. Now, what you should do is write down what you could say about starting a family, for example, using opinion, why, and ask. So I want you to pause this video and write down an example answer for this one prompt, starting a family. You should give your opinion, then say why, so give a justification, and then think of a way that you can ask the other candidate. And remember, the more detail you give, the better. So pause this video now, and you can use the prompts from the page before if you want, or think of your own ideas to give your opinion, your justification, and your question for the other candidate. Pause this video now, and when you're ready, click play. Okay. So this is my answer to the question, and you can see if your answer is similar or not. I think this is a good answer. In my opinion, giving my opinion. Financial issues would be a very important consideration when making the decision to start a family, as saying why, giving my justification, as the parents would need to be able to provide a stable home and school for bringing up children. What do you think? What do you think? Asking the other candidate. And this is a good answer. I could make it a lot longer, but I just wanted to make it short and to show you the main points, which are the opinion, justification, and asking the candidate. And if you said this in the exam, that would be a good answer, or a good starting point, and a good way to get the conversation flowing. And as we said, a lot of this, what the examiner is looking for, are your interaction abilities, and this answer is showing your interaction abilities, as well as your ability to say what you think, and give your opinion, and justify your opinion. Okay, time for tip number 2, which is moving to the next idea with key phrases. Because once you've spoken about one prompt, and your other candidate has spoken about the same prompt, you need to find a way to move on to the next idea smoothly. So, here are some good phrases to do this. So let's look at choosing a university. This could also be a useful phrase to start the conversation in the first place. Okay, so let's start with, or let's look at choosing a university. Or you finished talking about financial issues, let's look at choosing a university. Why don't we talk about finding a job? So you've just finished talking about providing a stable home for your family, etc. And then you can say, ask the opinion of the other candidate if they haven't already given it. And then at a suitable point you can say, okay, so why don't we talk about finding a job? And you've transitioned it very smoothly to the next point, which is a good thing to do. You could also say this, shall we move on to getting married? Or shall we move on to choosing a university? Or shall we move on to finding a job? Or you could say this one. If you finish talking about one prompt, you could ask your partner to move on to the next one by saying this. You could say, what do you think about moving to another country? Or what do you think about choosing a university? What's your opinion? Now, what you should do again for homework, or you can pause this video now and do it now, you should think of some of your own phrases to use to move from one idea to the next idea. Okay, tip number 3, repeat the process. So, repeat tip number 1, which is giving your opinion, your justification, you're asking the other candidate. And then, once you've done that, and once the other candidate has spoken about the same idea, move on to the next prompt with some of these phrases, or some of your own phrases. And once you've finished that, start again, move on to the next prompt. Give your opinion, your justification, your question. Make sure the other candidate speaks, and then move on to the next one. Okay. And after 2 minutes, there's just two of you, the examiner will stop you. But it's really good if you can go into some detail about those prompts. Okay, so tip number 4, after 2 minutes, the examiner stops you and asks you to make a decision with your partner. So, I said earlier, but I'll tell you again, it doesn't matter if you don't reach a decision. So after you spoke of 2 minutes about the prompts, the examiner asks you another question to try and make a decision with your partner. You have about 1 minute to try and reach this decision, but it doesn't matter if you don't come to a decision. What's more important is the opinion. Your opinion, you're giving your reason, you're saying why, and you're asking your candidate and showing the interaction. But in this part, when you're trying to reach a decision, you should also show some language of negotiation. So you should show that you understand their opinion, even if you don't agree with it. You understand it, and you're thinking about it, but maybe you still think that your opinion is more important, or this issue is more important. Or maybe you do reach a decision. Maybe you listen to what they say and you think, actually, that's a really good point. Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, show some language of negotiation. Say, okay, but what do you think about this? What do you think about this? That's a good point, but do you think this might be better? And then, yeah, if you can reach a decision, fantastic. If you don't reach a decision, that's okay. Okay, so here is another example. And this again comes from the Cambridge English Advanced Handbook for Teachers. And actually you can find this on page 84, this PDF, which you can access here at this website, which I've written on the side here. Okay, let's have a look at what I've written. So, I think it is most important to make the right decision when starting a family, because the other lives become the consequence of your actions. So, there are other lives, for example, your children. Well, yeah, your children. When you're starting a family, these other lives, your children's lives, become the consequence of your actions. So that's why I think this is the most important thing to think about when making the right decision. This is the most important idea. Do you agree with me? And you can see what the other candidate says. Maybe they don't agree with you. Maybe they have a different opinion. They might say, okay, so we have this question at the top. They're looking at the question, which situation is it most important to make the right decision? I think the situation in which it's most important to make the right decision is not when starting a family, but it's when choosing a university. Because that's when you're quite young, you're 18, 19 years old, and this is going to decide what will happen for the rest of your future. And therefore, I think choosing a university is the situation where it's most important to make the right decision. So one person might think starting a family is most important, one person might think choosing a university is important, and as long as you show some sort of negotiation, you're expressing your ideas, you're showing an understanding, even if you don't reach the same decision, that's okay. I can see where you're coming from about choosing a university, but I still think that starting a family is more important because you have these other people depending on you. Okay, so it's time for my tip number 5, which is that you may need to encourage further discussion with your partner. Maybe you're in the exam and you're with another person who is really quite shy or quiet or just nervous and they don't know what to say. And then you need to try to encourage further discussion with this person. So, here's a way you can do this. You can say, I think, so going back to the question before, where you need to reach a decision, I think it's most important to make the right decision when starting a family because there are other lives, because other lives become the consequence of your actions. Do you agree? So you're asking with a question like, do you agree? You're inviting them to talk. And this sort of invitation to talk is the type of thing you might need to do to get the other person to talk. And they could just say, yes, I agree with you. It's not very much there. They haven't given you a lot to go on. So you need to think, right, okay, let's try and get this person to speak some more. So then you could say, well, what do you think about getting married? So you've said what you think, you've said what's the most important thing, and they just agree with you. But, you still want to try and get them thinking about some other ideas just in case, and to try and talk for as long as you can for the rest of the time. So you could say, well, but what do you think about getting married? Do you not think this is more important? And then you can just ask them another question to try and get them to talk about another topic. Okay. And this example from this slide comes from this web link, which you can access over here if you want to see that again. Go to page 84 of the Cambridge English Advanced Handbook for Teachers. Okay, so for homework, what you should do is design your own topic for part 3. Okay, so come up with your own key topic question, and then come up with 5 prompts that you can use to talk about this topic question. And then you should write down what you can say using OWA, using your opinion, your justification, and your questions. And what you should do is then you should practice this with a friend or with a teacher, if you have a teacher or someone you know. But practice it with another person like you're in the exam, and time yourself again for 2 minutes. Because this practice again will get you in the mentality that you need to be in for the exam, and it'll be really, really useful. Okay, so all the slides that you've seen in this video lesson have come from this web address. And you can find the pages for these in the previous slides. But also, if you would like to book live lessons with me, you can go to my website, and specifically this web address. And if you complete this form, I will contact you, and then we can book some lessons. Maybe to practice part 3 of the speaking paper, or maybe to practice another part of the exam, or any other lessons that you want, and we can speak about that. Just go to my website here, this web address, and complete the form, and I will be in contact with you. Okay, so thank you for watching this video lesson. In the next video, we will be focusing on the CAE speaking paper